Good morning and welcome back to the channel. And this morning's Celtic news, there's a really interesting story going around this morning, but we're going to talk about in a minute that regards Jota and a return to Celtic. But first of all, Rocky makes a comeback. Rocky is back in the squad, back in the team, and Brendan Rodgers said yesterday that there's only two players that remain out injured long term, and that's Leila Abada and Stephen Welsh. Rodgers says that the injury crisis in recent weeks, and he did say this a couple of months ago, he said that look, the time that we get to the middle of October, everyone should be back fit and ready to join the team. Think about it, we've got two defenders that cost between them around about 7 million in Rocky and Gustav. There's absolutely no way that Celtic were expecting these two players to be sitting on the sidelines. They didn't expect Liam Scales to be such a revelation this season. Also, the fact that it is only Stephen Welsh and Leila Abada that looks like they'll return about December time. It's an interesting time for the Celtic manager. He's got a full squad, finally. Foolish as you can get. But with all the talk about a new goalkeeper coming in, and yes, there has been talk about the Real Madrid goalkeeper, Andre Lunin, and he's spoke to media in Spain, and he's basically said, look, before he hired any interest from Celtic, there was some interest in him in the summer, but there was nothing concrete. The 11 million goalkeeper, less 11 million. Are Celtic going to spend 11 million pounds on a goalkeeper? At this point, you sigh as you have your breakfast. The statement basically said that he's unhappy. He's unhappy at the way that he's went this season. Their goalkeeper, the main goalkeeper, is out injured, and he thought he would get his shot at the end of last season. He was thinking about leaving Real Madrid, he said. It's normal when you don't play, but it's Real Madrid. It's been his dream since he was a young kid, and he doesn't really want to leave, but you always want to play. You train to play, he said. This is a very interesting comment by the goalkeeper, because we obviously have a couple of goalkeepers at Celtic. They're basically no interest in playing. I mean, one, Benji Siegrist, is more interested in getting down to Australia to see his women. But with that being said, he seems happy enough there. But this guy doesn't seem to be happy playing second fiddle and sitting on the bench every week. And he's looking to now move. He's looking to now move after the Real Madrid brought in the Chelsea goalkeeper on loan at the beginning of the season. Joe Hart was obviously leaving Celtic at the end of this season after his 3-year contract is up. Replacing the 37-year-old goalkeeper is a must. We all said this last summer, and this could be the guy. Could Celtic seriously? It has been said that Celtic have been scouting the guy and finding out his strengths and weaknesses, but the guy has made it clear that he's now considering leaving the Bernabeu. The fact that it's a clear statement that he's unhappy at the club, but is it the type of player that Celtic will go for? Only finances, if we really want to start competing in the Champions League, not even competing, just getting the odd draw. But if we have any ambitions at all as a club to be regular in the Champions League, we need to aim high. And obviously, Celtic's been linked with the Liverpool goalkeeper also. He's actually priced around about the same money, about £11 million. So it's only finances. We do have the money in the bank, and we're going to get a lot of money from the Champions League next season. Now, one player that left Celtic in the summer is a player that went for quite a lot of money, and yes, Jota. And he's obviously been in and out the team, and it was understood that he might become available in the January transfer window. It's now been said that Celtic have thrown their name into the hat. Jota's representatives have been discussing his future, and they've talked about the possibility of contract termination, which are ongoing. A number of clubs in the Premier League, including Tottenham, have said that they're interested. It's now been said that Celtic have thrown their hats into the ring. It should have been expected. If he gets paid off in full, he doesn't really need the money. So would he come back to Celtic just to have some unfinished business? Would Jota consider a move back to Parkhead? This is the question. Or now that he's had that taste of the big money, well, let's face it, if he gets paid out his contract in full, he's going to have quite a bit of money in the bank. So he doesn't have to make his next move for a financial reason. It would be good to get Jota back at Celtic. It would be good to get him back just to get so he can get his game time. And then Celtic could have an agreement that if somebody came in for him for, say, 10 million, he could obviously move on. Just saying, because that's the way that Celtic work. Indeed, Jota might have a tough call to make. Would you welcome him back to Celtic? Wouldn't it be funny if he decided to come back to Celtic rather than join the ex-manager down at Spurs? Now, there are players at Celtic this season that really need to give them their chance, and I spoke about them on the live last night. I mean, obviously, this season, Liam Scales totally immersed for the shadows. Liam Scales was on his way out the door. It was halfway up to Aberdeen. And, now that the majority of the squad are back and fit, Brendan Rodgers has got some tough calls to make. If you think about it, Gustav Lagerbielke, he's just scored for his national team, £3 million. Is not the type of player that you're going to have sitting about on the bench. There's no way that we spend £3 million on a defender to have him sitting about on the bench. The fact that Cameron Carter-Vickers is back in the fold, and I'm going to shout out, I said it, I think Liam Scales will hold that position. Brendan Rodgers has said that he needs to show the consistency to show that position is now his until the end of the season. Gustav Lagerbielke will be trying to get him off that. Then you look at the other big spending that we did last summer, 4.3 million. Big Rocky, the Polish centre-back. He's had his 2-month layoff with injury and he's now back fit, ready to go, and he's ready for the team. He's been highly rated in his homeland with just 3 appearances before tearing his hamstring. Like Lagerbielke, he faces competition to get back into the team. And it's good for Celtic that we've finally got a bit of competition in that area of the pitch. And it'll be interesting to see who sits on the bench, because let's face it, these two guys weren't brought in for that kind of money to sit about on the bench. So it's going to be an interesting time to see if Liam Scales can keep his place on the field. Maybe Celtic are expecting to sell Cameron Carter-Vickers next summer. You never know. Maybe that's the thinking behind Celtic. They get these guys in, bed them in for a year, and then Cameron Carter-Vickers goes back down to England for big money. Another one is a prospect that was brought in during the summer, the Norwegian prospect, and Odin the Warrior, Odin Holm. He needs to get his chance. He showed his inexperience in the Champions League, yes, with that red card, but anyway, away to Feyenoord. But he's another one that was brought in to come straight into the first team. One that's on loan and comes under the same radar as Jota is obviously Paulo Bernardo. Now, Paulo Bernardo is raved about back home in Portugal, probably more than what Jota was, to be fair, because he plays for the under-21 team, and he's got a bit of pedigree about him. So will he get his chance? Celtic didn't bring this guy on loan with the option to buy to have him sitting about on the bench. Who does he replace in the midfield? That's the question for you this morning. Tell me in the comments, who would Paulo Bernardo replace? Because you think about it up front, I mean, it's going to be either Rio Hatate or O'Reilly. And that's the only two well, he's never going to replace Callum McGregor, but that's the other position that he plays in. So tell me what your thoughts are on the Benfica loan player. He's a player and a half seemingly, but we've not had a chance to really see him at his best at Celtic. Another player that's finally back in the squad, and some guys were saying in the live last night that Marco Tilo, even though he was injured when he came to Celtic, the Australia under-21 that we paid 1.5 million for, he's been building up his mark sharpness in the B team. Is he ready to make the step up to the main squad, or is it going to be like Tom Rogic? Because you remember when Tom Rogic came to Celtic, he wasn't. He sort of was on the periphery of the squad for a couple of seasons before he really came into the first team. So I remember Celtic saying, yeah, he's one for the future. As Marco Tilla, we're not going to see him this season. Is he going to be one that will play with the B team this season and then make the step up next season? Maybe Celtic are actually thinking ahead. With Lilo Bada out until December, there's an opportunity for him to try and get into the team. But then with Lewis Palmer and everybody else that's in the team, he's going to find it quite hard. Another one that didn't have the best international breaks is the South Korean international is yet to start from the Birmingham game under Rodgers due to the goal scoring form of Kyogo. We all know what Kyogo can do in a game, but he's only 22. And you have to remember that is only 22. And one of the things that we talk about is a lot of our young players that we put out on loan at the age 21. So the fact that he's in and around the first team, it's testament to the lad himself. I mean, he came from a foreign country and he's in the first team. There's lads that are from here, from Scotland and from Ireland, that are kicking around and being sent out on loan at the exact same age. So we need to be careful that he is only 22. But then again, we look at one Scotland player that hasn't been given a new contract yet, and we paid 3.25 million for him, and that's David Turnbull. David Turnbull, what will happen to him come the end of the season? And then last but not least, there's obviously Mikey Johnson. Mikey Johnson is back into the fray, and but people are saying, look, he's not good enough for Celtic. Anyone could play good against Gibraltar, was some of the comments. And there was one guy said he was 81 and he could play good against Gibraltar. But many fans have written off his chances, and Mikey Johnson is back into the fold. Can he force his way into the team? That's my question for you this morning. It's an interesting time for Brendan Rodgers this week. He has got a lot of decisions to make with regards to the first team. Or does the first team actually just pick itself? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. And on that day, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans. All